Let's welcome the CEO and founder of the new company, Arkestro, Edmund Zagorin. Come on up here, Edmund. Give him a big round of applause. Let's set our lights up here, please. All right, what do you think of the new name, huh? Arkestro. Come on, Edmund, let's do it. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Here you go! This is a very exciting thing, guys. Moment in time. Congratulations, Edmund. Congratulations to everybody from FinOps who is now Arkestro. 1, 2, 3, say it. Arkestro! Edmund, take it away. Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. I would especially like to thank our guests who traveled a significant distance to join us in person. For many of us, this is our first time together in person in over 2 years. And so, I want to take a moment to say thank you. Everyone stand up and give yourselves a round of applause. Now, before we get started, some of you are meeting me and our team for the first time, and I want to share a little bit about my background and journey with this company. Like many of us in procurement, when I first got out of school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I came into procurement kind of as an accident. I actually started out in academia. I studied quantitative network analysis when I was an undergraduate, and I was really passionate about debate. So I got a job at the University of Iowa teaching debate and as an academic administrator, and all academic administrators that manage a budget have to become a procurement officer. So I went to procurement officer training, and that was really where I started becoming obsessed with procurement systems, because the one that I was using was so frustrating and inefficient, and I saw that at my university there were research professors and some of the smartest minds in the world who were spending hours every week filing purchase reports. And at a certain point, I did get tired of living in Iowa just at that moment in time, and I said, I'm really a city mouse. I should go live in a city. And a friend of mine said, well, given your background, data science, you maybe consider joining a data science startup. So I said, OK, that makes sense. And I found a startup that was focused on providing data science services to procurement organizations. And I joined as an analyst, and I started creating reports, and I became obsessed with procurement. And I started loving working with procurement teams on complex negotiations, creating digital programs, policies, and procedures. I loved working with especially projects that had a lot of complexity, lots of SKUs, lots of constraints. I loved working on logistics and managed services. And I had the opportunity to travel the world. And I worked with multi-campus retail and health systems. And I worked on developing lead procurement programs in construction. And I was having so much fun with the impact we were creating, but I was so frustrated with the process. Because as many of you know, the procurement process today at most major companies, regardless of what software solutions they've implemented, still largely runs on three things: meetings, spreadsheets, and email. And that's where the journey to predictive procurement orchestration really began. And so today, I want to share with you the vision for predictive procurement orchestration and the why, the what, and the how. So first, why predictive procurement orchestration, and why are we all here? Why are we all here in person? Well, of course, our customers wanted to network, wanted to learn more about our new capabilities, our new use cases, configurations, and integrations. But there was actually two announcements from industry analysts that drove a surge of interest from the market in our solution. And this is the why. This is where this begins. Analysts at Spend Matters recognized us as a market leader ahead of companies that have tens of thousands of employees, publicly traded companies, companies that invest hundreds of millions of dollars every year in engineering and software development. And we were recognized as a market leader. And at the same time, Gartner recognized us as a cool vendor, which is a designation for new, up-and-coming companies that have a differentiation. And it is very rare for a company to receive both of these at the exact same time. And so this started getting a lot of interest and attention, but it captured the interest of one person very specifically who is here with us today. And that person is Rob DeSantis. Now, some of you know Rob as the co-founder of Ariba Technologies, which, just like Arkestro, actually began its life under a different name, ProcureSoft, for those of you who remember the journey. But as Rob and I began chatting, I actually learned that Rob had been involved in the early days of another Silicon Valley giant, a company that was monetizing 6 degrees of separation called LinkedIn. Rob joined this company when it's 2 weeks old, served as the advisor to the board, and helped drive the go-to-market organization. So I said, wow, that's super interesting. And then Rob told me that he had another company in the energy space called Bloom Energy that he'd also taken to $1 billion IPO valuation. And so Rob was very skeptical when he heard about this. And he said, Edmund, tell me, what are the largest enterprises that are actually seeing measurable business impact from implementing PPO? And I told him, Rob, you know, we're working with Volkswagen. Volkswagen has implemented this across their spend. BASF, the world's largest chemical company, has implemented PPO. Wholesome, this is one of the largest construction materials companies in the world, has implemented PPO. And Holman Enterprises, which is a huge retail and OEM automotive company. And together, they have $136 billion in annual spend combined. So this is being used at the large enterprise level. And Rob said, wow. It's kind of cool. And does PPO drive savings using a method that's different from other digital procurement technology? Like, is it doing something different and unique? And that's what I told Rob about the very first time that we tried this out. It was with BASF, so in partnership with them. they had a project for fasteners. Now, this project had, thousands of SKUs, different suppliers, different plant locations scattered over a large geography. So many constraints that had to be taken into account. And what we did is we had a little analytics model that simulated the outcome of the sourcing cycle before it happened. And that simulation generated a suggested price for each item for each supplier. And then we put that in a spreadsheet, and we emailed it to each supplier, thinking maybe this would help them get the unit of measure right. For those of us who've done MRO sourcing, we know that can be a challenge. And we thought it might help guide them in terms of what they would actually end up offering. And what happened next blew our minds. Because what happened next is that these suppliers sent back the offers. And they sent back the offers that included many of the suggestions that the model had offered them. And that moment, when we saw that, that was a eureka moment. That was the moment that changed everything. Because in that moment, that single moment, BASF, the world's largest chemical company, saved more money faster than they had ever saved in procurement. And this was recognized by the CFO of the company, Tobias Stratt, as the most successful procurement that the company had done globally. They saved $590,000 on $3.6 million in spend for fasteners. But that wasn't the impressive part. The impressive part was that across 5,000 SKUs, it happened in under 2 weeks. This process was an 8-month process with 4 FTEs. And the thing that impressed them the most, this is a company, by the way, that was using SAP Ariba and Coupa in different parts of their business. What impressed them the most was that no supplier logged into an app. Because I think any of us working in procurement, we know what it's like to do change management with our supplier bases. It's not easy. And the procurement manager who did this was recognized for financial excellence by his organization. He was promoted to run procurement for North America, still in the job today. And Sven Tyson, who runs procurement for BASF Coatings, has said that financial results of BidOps are quite impressive. They were excited, and they've done hundreds of predictive sourcing cycles in many different categories, ranging from raw materials to services to MRO. And so Rob said, wow, it's pretty cool. But I'd love to learn more. Can I speak with some of your customers? So we said, of course. Of course. And Rob went and interviewed all of our customers. And he found that they were, yes, driving cost savings and managing inflation, but they were also supporting a resilient supply chain and creating new operating efficiencies. And they were aligning their corporate spend with ESG and risk goals. And perhaps most impressively, they were seeing business results in under 30 days. So Rob said, wow, it's pretty cool. Customers are excited, but there's no app or login. How does it work exactly? And that really brings us to the what. So the what is 3 very simple things. This is going to go by fast. We have many sessions throughout the day for you to deep dive on different parts of these. But it really comes down to 3 things. Simulate the procurement cycle before it begins. Email supplier offers and instant counteroffers. And orchestrate the supplier back and forth. And the critical thing is that you will be able, using predictive procurement orchestration, to derive the optimal business rules from your existing data so that more of your future cycles will look like the best purchasing decisions made by your best people. And I don't know a manager out there who wouldn't want to double down on the best decisions of their best people. Predictive procurement orchestration embeds preferred outcomes and instant feedback in any process. And because I know everyone here came out to learn what the deal is with predictive procurement orchestration, I want to invite everyone to stand. if there's one sentence that you remember from my presentation, let it be this. I'm going to say it, and I want to hear you say it as well. Predictive procurement orchestration embeds preferred outcomes and instant feedback in any process. Now you. Procurement orchestration embeds preferred outcomes and instant feedback in any process. Wonderful. Wonderful. And PPO enables procurement teams to influence more spend faster, deliver a 2 to 5x lift on savings, and align spend with strategic corporate initiatives, whatever those constraints may be. And Rob said, wow, that's cool. But is PPO really a top priority for the C-suite? Are procurement teams actually seeing their everyday workloads increasing? And I started laughing. Because anyone who's worked in procurement over the past 2 years, whether it's sourcing PPE for COVID or the supply chain crisis that we've all been working through, knows that there's never been more procurement work to do than the past 2 years. And when Rob talked to the C-suite, he discovered that the answer was a resounding yes. CEOs are seeing price increases and unknown risks coming in every direction. CFOs feel like there's poor information. CPOs see low user adoption for the processes and systems. Suppliers are complaining there's dirty historical data. And procurement teams and stakeholders in general feel that the process is too complex and there are too many suppliers for the headcount they have to manage. And that brings us to the how. How did we get here? We've all done digital procurement. We all know that there are great solutions out there. And so I want to take you back. I want to take you way back to the 90s. And in the 90s, we had that first digital era, procurement on the web, getting procurement connected to the internet. And then in 2010, with the self-service era, we saw that brought to decentralized procurement organizations. And we saw procurement on the cloud. And then we saw the best of breed era. And wow, there are so many apps out there. Wow, there are so many. I feel like there's a new procurement app every single day. Procurement in apps. Whatever your function is, there's an app for that, the best of breed era. And as we have become overwhelmed by the number of apps and the amount of work and the number of processes, we are entering a new era, an era where technology is designed to deal with complexity, designed to deal with that feeling of overwhelm. And that era is the self-driving era. The era of predictive procurement orchestration has arrived. Orchestration is a category that emerges when there is too much data, too many processes, and too many systems. And it has these 4 characteristics. This is our definition for PPO. PPO amplifies the return on investment of existing systems and processes. It delivers hard, bottom-line cost savings on autopilot. It has a DocuSign-like user experience, and users never need to log in or get training. And perhaps most importantly, for those of us who are out there building business cases with our leadership, it influences 100%, 100% of addressable spend. Overwhelmed by options and complexity, end user purchasing at many of our organizations has become low intent. This simply means that the people typing in the data have the least motivation to get it right. It's not their fault. They have day jobs too, and they're busy. Spend Matters reports there are 3 metrics to measure low-intent purchasing behavior. You can take this back to your companies, and you can grade your own spend on these metrics. Variance per item, supplier per dollar, and PO per supplier. Guess what? When anyone gets to raise their hand and pick what supplier they want, the number of suppliers goes up. That's just how it works. And that is the bargain that most procurement organizations that are using digital solutions have made today. Orchestration relies on real-time recommendations sensitive to context, errors, and constraints. It's designed to take the wisdom of crowds of your best people and scale those practices across your addressable spend. It has predictive error handling. It identifies anomalies before they happen. And it doesn't just tell you, it tells the person who typed it in so they can fix it while it's happening. And it factors in infinite constraints, whatever the constraint, geography, capacity, risk, diversity, all can be factored in, not just for strategic sourcing, but for every purchase that the enterprise makes. And that's powerful. Optionality should create value, not overwhelm, anxiety, frustration, and fatigue. We shouldn't be dealing with overwhelm because of the abundance of options we have. We just need better tools. And that is what Arkestro does. Cut through the noise. Amplify the impact of procurement's influence. I'm going to say this like 3 times before I'm done. That is the goal, to take what you're already doing that's working and scale it across more spend. Real-time recommendations trigger the I'll have what she's having effect. Lots of people talk about the great user experience in procurement that's out there waiting for us if we could only just discover it. Well, what makes people feel good, aside from just instant feedback, is this idea of a confident decision. And the overwhelm and anxiety we feel in procurement, I think of it like being in a restaurant with a menu that's 1,000 items long and there's so many items to choose from. And suddenly a waiter comes and brings us another menu that has another 1,000 items. We go, oh, wow. And then all of a sudden we see a plate of delicious food being borne aloft across the restaurant. And we look at it and we go, I'll have what she's having. Great, I don't have to make a decision. And that is delight. That is one of the ways that predictive machine learning can assist with human decision support. Amplify the impact of procurement's influence. And our secret sauce is behavioral science, game theory, and predictive machine learning. Anchoring drives pricing. Reward uncertainty drives speed. Fear of missing out drives competition. And the prisoner's dilemma drives award selection. In fact, these are the behavioral motivators behind the RFP, the original concept in strategic sourcing. This is what drives the RFQ. This is what drives every negotiation. And we've taken this game theory and we've embedded it. And we've given our customers the power to embed it in their existing processes. How do we know this works? Well, there's a huge amount of data and evidence that shows that it works. But I'd like to share one example that I think is very accessible. Germany and Austria are 2 countries right next to each other. They eat the same Wiener Schnitzel. They wear the same lederhosen. But these 2 countries both have organ donation programs that perform vastly differently. The one in Germany only has 12% donor enrollment. And in Austria, it's over 99%. Wow! That is a shocking difference in impact for countries that are so similar. What's the difference? In Austria, you're pre-enrolled in the organ donation program. In Germany, you have to enroll. You have to take an extra step. What a huge impact one extra step can make. And that's because scientific game theory has shown that people love recommendations, and they hate making decisions. And predictive machine learning has shown us over time, as we've accumulated data over the past 4 years of seeing this in different industries and categories, different processes, purchasing, sourcing, contracting, that this is a strong predictor of savings. That's why we amplify the impact of procurement's influence. And it's why we're built to be embedded within every major ERP and procure-to-pay system with over 1,000 pre-built integrations. Our configurable orchestrations are built to address 100% of spend and value leakage, running the gamut from sourcing to P-cards. And you're going to hear about some of those case studies at this event. And it is about reinforcing the value of the investments you've made in a great procurement function and a great digital procurement stack, and taking it to the next level by scaling those insights. When you have new team members, they shouldn't have to be an expert on day one in the category that they're managing. There should be a knowledge base of suggestions and recommendations around supplier and commodity that are waiting for them. Well, Rob was kind of impressed with this, so he said, wow. And that is why we have a very special announcement to make today. We are announcing, as the unveiling of the new brand, that we are formally and officially recognizing the partnership that Rob has been bringing to the organization over the last 6 months. And celebrating him, please put your hands together to welcome Rob DeSantis as a co-founder. of Arkestro. And of course, we have a great team with us here. Many of them you'll have the opportunity to talk with and interact with. We have our engineering and product organization is here. Our machine learning and data organization is here. Talk to them. Ask them questions. And I want to give a big shout out to our Chief Technology Officer who makes this all happen, Ben Lakin. And to our newest member of the executive leadership team, our new Chief Revenue Officer, who was one of the first people to develop playbooks for bringing machine learning into the enterprise as part of Salesforce's Einstein organization, Aram Diamond, our new Chief Revenue Officer. And there are a lot of other great Arkestrans who are here today. You can meet with them, talk to them. And we're hiring. If you know people who are passionate about machine learning, passionate about excellent procurement organizations, let us know. We'd love to talk to them. In closing, I would like to offer this call to action for Optimal 22 to amplify the impact of procurement's influence with PPO, where we see suppliers offer better prices and terms faster, stakeholders engage procurement earlier more often as a trusted advisor, and procurement teams create more value in fewer steps. As we all saw with that previous example, what a difference one extra step can make. So this is why predictive procurement orchestration changes everything. We believe this is a moment in time, the beginning of a new era in our profession. And I would like to take this opportunity to invite Rob to come up on stage and share a few words.
Thanks, Aram. I'm just going to take Edmund. I'm just going to take a couple minutes to say a couple things, and then I want to recognize one other person. So, as you can see, I did a lot of due diligence coming into bid ops and now Arkestro. And thank you, Edmund, for the invitation to co-found with you. What I saw when I first started going through all of my due diligence was something that at first I was very skeptical upon, but then quickly became pretty emphatic upon. I looked at the procurement world as a whole, and I said, you know, we've seen on the sell side, we've seen $100 billion companies, i.e. Salesforce. And on the people side, we've seen $100 billion companies in the area of Workday. But we've never seen that on the buy side. And I said, why is that? And when I thought about it, you know, Ariba, we went from 0 to 42 billion in 3.5 years of value. And Coupa almost, but not quite, but they still did pretty good. But the thing I saw about those markets and those capabilities was they focused on what they could, and that is the digital automation, but the indirect side of the business. And for many people here, you know that 90% of a company's spend is on the direct material side. But there had never been a solution that could really dramatically impact the value of direct. And then when I talked to all of the customers and found out some of them were using it for direct, indirect, services, logistics, supply chain resiliency, I said, wow, this company is exciting. This company is the first company, I think, that can actually be that $100 billion unicorn. And I don't use those words lightly. I've been very fortunate in my career to be around a few of those. But I continue to get more impressed with this company. This company, you'll see here today that the company has a book. Edmund has written the book, working with our customers, interviewed with many of our customers, and this is an advanced copy. The official copy will be presented probably at our fall event. And we're going to be doing some more interviews with thought leaders and executives of Fortune 500 companies to participate in this movement. And we look forward to doing that. But the thing that was really exciting to me is that it was taking the company to a whole new level. we're now educating the world on how this new market category can be made. We have white papers, and my hat's off to Edmund and his data science team for figuring out how to combine data science and human science to create the optimal procurement science. Edmund, let's give him a round of applause. So my one last comment here is this: I consider this co-founding really to be a collision of two things. The incredible data science team of BidOps and the collection of people from the original Ariba team. I got so excited about this company that I did something I hadn't done in 20 years or ever. And I called the original Ariba team that went out and penetrated this market, many of whom are here today. And they took a look at the product, they came to our customer advisory councils, and they joined the company and are out there making an impact. And with that, I want to announce a program that we put in place at Ariba, and we brought it here, and that is a corporate alliance program. We have 16 wonderful customers, but what we implemented earlier this year was we said we want to go look for those companies that are willing to make an enterprise commitment, not just dip a toe in the water, but make an enterprise commitment right off the get-go and believe in the technology and spirit. I gave that challenge to the very first account executive at Ariba, employee number 9 at Ariba. And he came on board, and here he is today. And in the past 30 days, he has been able to secure Arkestro's first corporate alliance partner. And we have a few more that you'll be seeing the press releases over the next week or two. But I'd like to welcome up on stage here, just to thank him, Dave Schultz from Westfall, who has years and years of experience and is known as a thought leader throughout. Dave, come on up here.
All right, thank you very much for that introduction and so on. I don't really have any prepared remarks. I think Rob told me about 10 minutes ago he wanted me to make a couple of statements here. So basically, I want to thank you. I want to thank Edmund. I think that was Edmund up here before. I haven't seen Edmund before, but that was pretty encouraging. So I hadn't seen any of Edmund's slides and so forth, so I don't want to repeat any of that, but a lot of that was really the reason why we're choosing Arkestro, quite frankly. And what it comes down to, I think, is unique times really call for a unique solution. And this is absolutely unique, and it's interesting what Edmund went over because anybody who's familiar with, and I want to give a shout out to Dr. Eloise Epstein of the Technology Innovation Spider Map. That puts all of the companies, maybe not even all of them, but a huge amount of companies in front of all of us that supposedly do this kind of work. And when you look at that, it's interesting. It's almost that, I call it the paradox of choice. As you talked about it, it's pretty amazing when you went through. I didn't see that about the restaurant, I'll have what she's having or whatever it might be. But what Dr. Epstein gave us as well, which a lot of people don't realize, is huge anxiety. Thank you for that, by the way. So what we needed to do is get to the bottom of that. And one of the items I always talk about in business, I think one of the biggest problems in business today, or challenges, is opinion masquerading as fact. So you can ask a lot of people things. They do not know how to say, I don't know anymore. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So when you get through the back of it and understand it, there's only one or two or one solution really that comes out that can meet the needs of today. And that's speed. And I call it cost of delay. As we're here today, inflation's going through the roof. So every day that we miss going and putting a solution in place, costs are going up. Now, just quickly, I've been with the company that I'm with now for 30 days. John gets good credit for bringing us in, but Edmund and the team, quite frankly, I've been mulling this over for quite some time. And when you look at it, the amount of speed, the speed that it brings in is really important. But the most important factor to me is the relationships with suppliers, right? I've been on the sales side before. I'm now on the procurement side, been there for quite some time, in supply chain. The balance of power has changed dramatically. You might see that, right? We're doing some work with pallet suppliers now. Half of them didn't even respond. They're sold out. And then you put something in front of them that is so difficult, if you do, to respond to, they're just gonna opt out. So it's important for us, second to our human resources and our people are our suppliers. And you can get the best price in the world from somebody, but if you can't get the product in the future, what good is it, right? So basically, we're saying, let's bring this on. I've been with the company around a little over 30 days. The CEO brought me in because he trusted, my choice. And one of the first things I thought of is that a technology like this will really help me. We bought 19 companies over the last 4.5 years. So you can imagine, it's like a yard sale out there with all the stuff that's hanging everywhere. And we got to bring it all together, and we believe this is the tool to do that. So, when you see what I've seen even in the last 40 days here with the team that's around it, and I'm very confident it's going to deliver, and really I'm staking my reputation on. So I appreciate the time to talk a little about what we're doing. I really want to learn from each and every one of you today. So I'm going to turn it back over to Edmund, and he'll take it to the next level. Or I guess Stu maybe.
Thank you, David. Edmund, come on up. Let's bring up Edmund again to wrap this up for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rob, and thank you so much, David. Another round of applause for David Schultz. So now we have some sharing and knowledge from procurement leaders. As many of you know, we focus on people who are passionate about procurement, especially data, the role of data in procurement. And so now it gives me great pleasure to welcome another person who traveled all the way from the West Coast, Kristen Collins. Kristen has over 20 years of experience in procurement and has worked as a commodity manager to the role she now has as Director, Global Purchasing Operations and Technology at software maker Autodesk, where she oversees the team at Autodesk responsible for the digitization of their procurement processes on a global scale. Give it up for Kristen.